Hey guys, welcome back to Chariot Palmistry. My name is Dr. Sulabh Jain, and in this video I'm going to be updating my stock market predictions for this year. So earlier in the year I made a video making 5 predictions on what I thought would happen to the stock market this year. And already 3 have taken place. I predicted that in January the stock market would start to roll over, which was the timing when Saturn entered Capricorn. I then said in March it would really start to crash, and April would be a period where things start to rebound and go sideways. And things have actually already started panning out that way. So first, before I update you guys on what I think is going to be happening for the rest of this year, let's have a look at where things are so far this year. Okay, so this is the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which is the main American stock exchange. And as you can see, it's been on an uptrend for the last couple of years here. And in January, when Saturn entered Capricorn, I predicted things would start to go sideways. So let's zoom in a little bit here and we can have a look. Come the start of January, instead of going up, things are going sideways. Then that second prediction that in March things would crash, and as you can see, March they started crashing. Once we get into roughly April, you can see this sideways trajectory kind of taking place. So that's a background to this video. What do I think is going to be happening from here on out? So in my previous video, I said that there's going to be a crash coming around again in May and again in September of this year. So to talk about those things, let's discuss a little bit of palmistry and astrology theory. And the main theory for all of this is the sign of Capricorn. Because remember I was saying Saturn entering Capricorn is a sign of financial unrest? Well, right now, Jupiter has just entered Capricorn, roughly in about the first week of April. Now, Jupiter is all about optimism, whereas Saturn is all about fear. So, since Jupiter's entry into Capricorn, you're going to notice more optimism in the financial markets. And that's sort of taking place. There's a lot of financial pundits out there who are saying that, the worst is over and things are just going to recover from here. I tend to disagree. So let's look at the theory of all of this. So Saturn, that's a planet that contracts energy. And Capricorn is the sign for banks and the financial industry. So when Saturn enters Capricorn, the financial industry starts to contract. Jupiter, on the other hand, is a planet that expands energy. And when Jupiter enters Capricorn, again, Capricorn representing banks in the financial services industry, that will expand their industry, that will expand who they are. So you've got this sort of schizophrenic energy in the markets right now, where Saturn is contracting everything and Jupiter is expanding everything. Now, look at this from like a yin-yang perspective, because Saturn and Jupiter are 2 of the most karmic planets out there. They release all the bad and all the good from the past. So Saturn, because it contracts energy, it's all about fear. And Jupiter, because it expands energy, it's all about optimism. So the theme for most of this year is going to be this dynamic, this oscillating dynamic between fear and optimism. When people are afraid, they will save money, and that, because that money is being saved, it won't be in the economy, so that's going to have like a deflationary dynamic. When there is optimism, people go out and start to spend money. It's also the time where governments start to print money. So you'll notice how the American government, and actually a lot of other governments in the world, started their money printing process, or what they call quantitative easing, in April of this year. So roughly the time where Jupiter entered Capricorn. The last time Jupiter entered Capricorn was roughly in 2008. That was like at the tail end of the GFC. That's when the Fed was pumping hundreds of billions of dollars into the markets. Today, they're pumping trillions of dollars into the markets. And because of all that spending, that leads to high inflation. So what's going to happen now? In the month of May, both of these planets, Jupiter and Saturn, are going to go retrograde, which means to the naked eye, it'll look like they're spinning backwards in the night sky. But what's actually happening at an energetic level is that they're no longer following the energy of the sun. In other words, they'll be making their own rules up. So I predict that there's going to be some more fear returning to the markets at that point in time. And that will be followed by optimism, meaning more money printing. In the last week of June, Jupiter will go completely out of Capricorn and into Sagittarius. That will leave Saturn alone in Capricorn, which means in the month of June, there's going to be more fear in the market, resulting in deflation. And incidentally, about the same time, the Sun will be entering into Cancer. Sun and Saturn are enemies. They just don't get along. They're actually father and son in Indian mythology. Maybe I should make a video just on that dynamic because that's really interesting in its own right. But for the purposes of this video, Cancer represents the real estate market. So you know how Capricorn is all about the financial market? Cancer is real estate because it's your home. So at that point in time, expect government intervention in the real estate market. Either they're going to be printing more money in there, or they're going to be coming up with more stimulus programs to prop up and protect the real estate market. And then things get even crazier. In September, the planet Mars will go retrograde in Aries. And also in that month, Rahu and Ketu are going to be entering into Taurus and Scorpio. So expect more financial chaos taking place in the month of September. In the first week of December, Jupiter will re-enter into Capricorn, which means more optimism and huge money printing. So my prediction is May, there'll be more chaos. June, there'll be chaos in the real estate market. September, chaos in the financial market once again. And in December, crazy amounts of money printing. This is going to be a theme throughout this year. The markets will contract under the fear of Saturn, and under the optimism of Jupiter, the markets will expand on paper or nominally because of money printing or government policies. What we're in for is essentially high levels of deflation coinciding with high levels of inflation. In other words, the price of everything will go up, but the value of everything will go down. And it's going to be a dynamic throughout this year, or most of this year, and a little bit into next year too. But I'll make a video on my 2021 predictions sort of later on this year and more into next year. To protect yourselves though, what you guys should be looking at doing is getting your financial assets out of the banking industry. So if you have loans, there's going to be chaos there. If you have cash in the bank account, there's going to be chaos there, perhaps with bank closures or bank runs and that type of thing. If you have money in the stock market, there'll be chaos there. Anything outside the banking industry should do well this year. So gold, silver, potentially some of the cryptocurrencies, although personally I don't know a great deal about them, but anything outside the banks should do well because the theme of everything that's going on here is financial justice taking place on the banking industry. So for those of you who've been struggling to buy a house over the last few years, Saturn has come into Capricorn to bring the whole thing down to help you buy a house. For those of you who have struggled just to make ends meet, Saturn is your ally right now, and he's going to help you have abundance here. But you got to make sure that your money isn't with the banks while Saturn just crashes them to the ground. So that's my predictions, guys. I do want to point out though that there's going to be more political chaos taking place this year whilst this financial chaos is taking place also. So I made a video on what I thought was going to be happening politically this year. So click on that over here just to get up to speed on 2020. All right, guys, if you have any questions, put them in the comment section below. Thanks a lot.